Hi everyone and welcome to Curly and Yarny. I am Milena and on this channel I talk about weaving and in today's video will be a very talkative video because I will be going over my first semester of the textile school I am attending right now. So let's jump right into it. So if this is the first time that you are hearing about my textile school journey, let me do a very quick recap. So this fall I enrolled into a program given by le Cégep de Limoilou with la Maison des Métiers d'Art de Québec, and with this program they are teaching us everything that there is to know about making textile. So for this first semester I had a weaving class, a knitting machine class, and also a sewing class, and here's everything that I've learned so far. So I have already made 2 videos on the subject. So I've made one after 1 week of school and I've also made another one after 7 weeks of school. So I will link both those videos in the description of this video if ever you were curious to see the progression of my journey. Start first by talking about my sewing class. So I am dancing around with this because this is one thing that I made in this class, so by the end of it. But before I talk about my outfit today, I want to tell you what we did mid-semester, and it is a little pocket. So we had to do the whole pattern of this, and we could adapt it to whatever needs we had, and I wanted to have a pocket to be able to carry my shuttles around. So even though this is a sewing class, my heart is always thinking about weaving, so this is a pocket for weaving. So we practiced putting zips again on. So in the last video I mentioned I was lazy in the other project, in the cushion project, and I avoid putting the difficult zipper on, but for this one there was no turning around, so it was a good practice. And we even put a pocket inside of the pocket so I can hide some little secret in there. And then there's a big pocket that is big enough to fit my shuttle and also all of my bobbins that are just waiting to have yarn on it to start a new project. And so now we can move on to the dress that I am wearing. So for our final project of the semester, we had to make an apron. So this time we did not come up with the pattern. We actually already were provided a pattern, and we learned how to adjust pattern according to different needs, if I ever wanted to make them longer or make the sleeves different and stuff like that. And I wanted my apron to actually be more like a dress, so I've added to the pattern some length because I'm a bit tall. But I also added this little belt here that will allow me to have it a little bit more centered around my waist to look a little bit more like a dress. Now let me tell you a little bit more about the fabric that I used for my dress. So this fabric has I find a very meaningful story behind it. So about 5 years ago I traveled to Senegal, and during this trip with the people I was there with, we went shopping for fabric, and so they were many talented seamstress that could make us anything we wanted out of the fabric we bought. But this fabric that I bought here, I decided to keep it for myself, and I said this one I want to turn it myself into a piece of clothing. So I already knew back then that I wanted to learn how to sew and make my own dresses, so I bought a good length of it and I kept it tucked away in a drawer somewhere. So when this project came up, I thought this would be just a perfect opportunity to actually use the fabric that I bought expressively for when I would learn how to sew. So here it is. So the project is not actually fully finished, so I realized that the straps here were a little bit too big, so I want to adjust them and make them a little bit tighter and smaller. But other than that, this is pretty much done. And get this dress even have a pocket. And now let's move on to my knitting machine class. So of all the classes that I attended this semester, this was the one that was the most challenging for me. At first I didn't really like it so much. I thought the machine was very needy, very fragile. One little mistake and all my project would fall down from the machine. I thought weaving is much easier. Weaving, you cannot have this kind of disaster. But then I decided to take time to get acquainted with the machine, and now I am happy to tell you that we have reconciled and I actually enjoyed myself quite a lot in the last few weeks. I even started to entertain the idea to get one for me to get inside of my home. So this is a lot of progress. But but let me tell you more about what we did during the second half of the semester. So we mostly work with Fair Isle motifs, Fair Isle's pattern. So we did different things. We played around with colors. We played around with a software called Design Unit to create our own patterns. So this one was one of the patterns I created. We really went crazy on creating patterns and tried different things. I tried to make little fishes, and I went into more abstract things. So all of those tests and all of those samples led us to knit our own. I am not sure what the name in English is, so it's not a scarf, but it's something that we wear around the neck in the winter time. It's just like a tube that we put on. So please let me know in the comments what's the name in English. So we knitted one of those, and I don't have the one I made with me today because I give it away. So this time I give it away willingly, so this time it wasn't stolen from me. If you've seen my other video, you know what I'm talking about. So there are some robbers within my family. But this one, I gave it to my dad. So my dad likes to go ice fishing, and it can get very cold on the lake. So I thought it would be a good protection for his neck. So I use yarn, I use some alpaca yarn to make my thing. And I've used two kind of different alpaca yarns. The brown yarn is some baby alpaca that we had at school, and the green yarn is some yarn that I bought from Hobby previously this year. Also inside of this knitted thing I put some polar, so I'm also not sure, some fleece maybe, I'm not sure of the name in English, but something that's very warm, so it kind of doubles up the product, and then it gets very, very warm. So I'm sure my dad will have his heart and his neck very warm while he goes out and about. So I keep telling you how much I ended up liking my knitting machine class, but it's a little bit of a lie, because there was this one class by the end of the semester that got very challenging for me. So during that one class we learned how to do some intarsia, so another way to make patterns, and I've decided to make a little dinosaur. But by the end of the day I got very tired, and I did a mistake that was almost unrepairable, and so probably would have been repairable, but I was just so tired, so I ended up with a headless dinosaur. Alright, so in my weaving class for the second half of the semester, we talked a lot about a twill, and so we gotten the chance to practice different kind of twills. So we've tried different fibers, we tried different colors, we've tried different patterns again, so really everything to just kind of get the feel of what this weave structure is and what it does and what its advantages compared to other weave structure. Which leads me to tell you another weave structure that we learned about, which is satin, and I am very excited for this. So satin is something that I've read a little bit about in books, but every time I read about it, I didn't really fully understand how it works. I was really glad to have somebody explain it to me in detail. So now I get a little bit more how it's made, I get a bit more the structure. So we had the chance to weave a sample of satin, and when learning about the different properties of this weave structure, the teacher said that actually no matter what kind of thread we would be using, the finish would often look a little bit shiny. And I was like, yeah, right, how can you make an unshiny thread shiny? And then I wove this, and to my surprise, it's actually true. So I wove my sample using cotton only, and it does shine. It was normal cotton, not unmercerized cotton, so I have to admit, satin has 1 point, Lena has 0 point. Also, through all of those samples, I got the chance to weave on a computer-assisted loom, which was the first for me, and I thought it was very interesting. So the way it works, there's actually only 2 threadles, but the loom I use had 8 shafts. And basically, the way the threadles work, there's one that says, okay, I'm ready for the next pick, and then the second one is like, okay, this is the pick, and it knows which shaft to lift or to lift according to that. And so you just go around pushing on the two threadles like that and throwing the shuttle. So it was a very fluid movement. I didn't have to think all the time of what threadle to push on, so that was very fun. So now I have the pleasure to present you the final project that I did inside of my weaving class. So first of all, let me tell you about the inspiration behind this project. And I had seen on Pinterest a picture of somebody doing clasp weft with some diamond twill in it, and the warp was white, the weft was black and white. And so where the white weft would meet the white warp, it would kind of like make the pattern disappear, and then when it was a black weft, and then the pattern would be visible. And I thought that this effect with clasp weft was very nice, and so I wanted to explore a little bit this idea. So I decided to make this idea a little bit further away. So first of all, I thought that this looked a little bit like snow in the winter, how snow can camouflage a little bit the scenery. And I wanted to again, to make it a little bit more interesting, so I've decided that in my warp I would actually have more than one color. So I have two colors that I have separated into 3 blocks. So on the left I have some white, on the right as well, and in the middle I have the blue part. And so this makes that my pattern can appear and disappears in different places at the same time. I forgot to mention, but this is a scarf. And my inspiration for the colors is winter. So again, because I thought this was snow, I wanted to take colors that would remind me of snow again. In like a very cold winter day when there's like snow everywhere, but like it's sunny, so the sky is like super blue. This is exactly the colors I had in mind for that. And for the draft pattern, I wanted to try something I saw inside of Anne Dixon pattern directory book, a pattern that I thought would be very pretty. And this draft pattern can be found at the bottom of page 71. And so it's kind of diamonds, but they kind of like regroup together. So this is what I've decided to do for the pattern. For the yarn, well, we had a budget at school, so I couldn't just use anything. So for the warp, I used A2 cotton because it was very affordable, and I used it natural and in the color royal. And then for the weft, I used yarn that I had at home in order to save a little bit on yarn. So for the blue royal yarn, it's actually alpaca silk yarn. You've seen this yarn before. This is yarn that I got from Gather Textile when I work with them on the lake house scarf pattern. So I will link a video about this project in the description down below if you're very curious to see what I made with this yarn before. And then the white yarn is natural alpaca silk yarn that I also already had at home. So if there's only one thing I can say that is maybe negative about this project, is that it is a little bit short. I wish I would have made it just a little bit longer, but overall I'm very happy with it. It's super large, so it can be worn as a shawl, but it can also be worn as a scarf. It is also pretty warm, it's pretty soft, so you really want to get in there when it's cold outside, just as today. Super cold, it's snowy, so this is a must needed item. So now you might be wondering, hey Milena, what's next? And so actually school doesn't start for another 2 weeks, so I have 2 weeks to finish some projects I had started and start new projects. So I think I have 200 projects in my mind right now that I want to do, so I'm probably going to be able to do just a very small percentage of that, but I'm excited to start them soon, and I'll make sure to share those projects with you along the way. Also, according to school, what's next? Well, for next semesters, I will be attending 4 classes. So the first one is a art history class, and you can probably hear it from my voice. I'm not too excited about this class, but you gotta do what you gotta do to get a degree. Then I will have a weaving class, I will have another knitting machine class, and I will also have a class about dyeing. So I'm very excited to learn more about this. I know pretty much nothing about dyeing yarns, dyeing pieces of fabrics, so stay tuned to learn more about this. And so this is pretty much it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Also, I want to take a second to thank all of you who have subscribed to my channel. So thanks to you, I now have 5,000 subscribers, and this means so much to me. If you're watching this and you're not already a subscriber, Please subscribe to my channel and you'll make sure not to miss any new content that I will upload, and see you soon in the next video. Bye bye.